Hey guys, it's Bulldog. Just got home. Ride my bike. I tired. Uh, I worked out at the gym quite a bit. Felt really good. Needed it. Finished one of my books. Self-help book. Did a lot of thinking, like a lot of like. You ever have things like make sense to you? It's like I had that like 4 or 5 times a day, thinking about different things. I'm like, well, that's enough for today. I don't need anything more to make sense to me today. I have reached my limits. But no, I'm joking. I'm gonna relax, decompress. But I realize the act of reading, the act of reading uh, a, a really good author. So imagine a good author, right? Like the first author that came to my mind was Dr. Seuss. So imagine Dr. Seuss. Now imagine reading his words. Now I wasn't a big, okay, maybe I was. I don't remember when I was younger. But what I do remember is that there is a cat in a hat. And for some reason I identified Dr. Seuss as that cat in the hat. So I'm thinking, so imagine reading something, Dr. Seuss, and you're the cat or the cat in the hat, you're imagining being or portraying the cat in the hat. Now do that for about 5 hours. I don't know. I'm a slow reader. I like to digest what I'm reading, so it takes me about 5 hours or more. Probably more for certain books. So imagine doing that. Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. Changes how you think. It's gonna change how you think. You're gonna think like the cat in the hat. So that I realize that I'm reading these books by these authors. I have to give it up to these authors that they are like shout out the most like some of the most passionate people you could tell in the reading. And that's why I'm really enjoying some of these self-help books because they're just like, hey man, like even the last book I just finished, the book was like, yeah, this is gonna be the only book you'll ever need. Well, he says it in the beginning, he says it at the end. He's like, this will be the only book you'll ever need to talk about this subject. This is the only one. Go, and then he even suggests read it twice. You know, you might have to read it a few times. But let me tell you, you're lucky. You should be grateful. No, he didn't. He didn't say that. But it reminds me of my dad. My dad used to say this when he was teaching me guitar. He was like, "You're not ready for this." I'm like, what? What I'm about to show you, you are so lucky that I'm about to show you what I'm about to show you on guitar. I'm about to teach you something. You have no idea how lucky you are. Like, I'm like, okay. Like, I imagine that is what the author's feeling. But kudos, good for that person. And I did enjoy the book. I probably will reread it. But let me critique that book real quick, since I'm on the subject. The book is about public speaking. Okay, so it's like public speaking, then it starts talking about life. Like, okay, all right. Public speaking, life. Okay, let's stop talking about public speaking. We're talking about life. And it's just like life stuff, people stuff, human stuff. Like, all right. Like by the end of the book, it's just like, okay. It's like I don't know where to draw the line between public speaking, the subject of public speaking, and how I should live my life. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Like that's like I mean, writing a book is a form of art, and the way that the pieces of information were tied together, if I left reading that book with that confusion, or should I say that duality of subjects, and the difficulty differentiating between public speaking and how to live my life, then that is a good thing, right? To me, I'm like, wow, you know. Um, so I forget what else I was talking about, but yeah, reading. I got two more books, and yeah, I currently have I got four books checked out right now, which is overly ambitious of me. Generally speaking, I only need about three because I like to go back and forth depending on my mood. Uh, so I'm definitely feeling ambitious. Like how's my work search going? Trying to find another job. How's that going? Well, it's not really. Kind of, sort of. It's going in its own way. As I've said, I'm taking time to work on myself, um, and also you know leave it to spirituality, uh, and not worrying about things. Definitely working on myself. I told myself that either yesterday or today. I admitted that I don't want to do anything if I'm not genuinely myself. You know, and I realize I can power up, and yeah, but I prefer to be powered down and be able to do things. Clearly, when I feel anxiety like I am right now, I just naturally power up. Uh, but I sometimes, even admitting that, I admit to a fault of something I'm trying to work on. Because I'd like to think that I can maintain just being powered down and just feel feelings of anxiety and the, like shaky voice, stuttering, uh, slurring my words, maybe even, and being like overwhelmed, being shy, my all these different things. If I power up, I won't do that. I won't do it as much. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being powered down and displaying those, like I am, like stuttering. It's like I'm trying to work on that. I'm actively working on that. So, and part of the reason why I won't like what's the saying? You shoot for the stars, you'll hit the moon or whatever. I'm trying to work on. I know it's not gonna be perfection, but I'm trying to get in the habit of being accepted and feeling acceptable, being powered down, and being low energy. And I'm getting better at it. Um, and one of the things I want to admit is that I don't know if this is correct thinking or it's just thinking that I've hypothesized or whatever, theorized, is that part of the confusion and miscommunication I have with a lot of people is that they misread me, or they may know me when I'm powered up. And if I'm to be in a relationship, even as friends, just friends, I don't want to see that as a requirement. If that makes sense. Um, yeah, I mean, I want to just be natural in how I feel without being supernatural to adjust how I feel. If that makes sense. I think that's right. Just hearing me say that, I think that's correct. Uh, and I know for a fact there are people who will not have experienced this before. There are people who will not communicate with me or choose not to communicate with me unless I'm powered up. I get that. I want to say I'm a different person, but I'm not. You know, to each their own. I understand what that's like when it's like if a person's being, it's like, you ever talk to someone, it's like, oh, I'm not going to talk to that person unless they settle down, or if they're polite, or if they're respectful. I'm not going to, I'm not going to, I understand that way of thinking. So I can relate. Does it hurt my feelings? I mean, no, I'm an adult. But I think not so much hurting my feelings, but it confuses me. And more so, it confuses me because I know not it's not so clear cut, so to speak. I know that there are people who may appreciate and love when another person is not at their strongest, when they're weaker, or when they're being authentic or uncertain. It's how you get closer to someone and you really. So, am I dramatizing? Am I using generalizations? Uh, Trying not to. Definitely trying not to. And so I have a vision of myself. Maybe not a full vision, but I have a vision, a hope, a dream that I'd be able to be relaxed and low energy and be able to, go through my day and go through, do things and work, you know, have the choice and the option to power up and be supernatural, but not having that as a requirement to get through the day. So that's my hope. I'm vocalizing that. Uh, so I was gonna make a joke. You ever hear the expression like first world problems, or like it could be anybody, like someone who's complaining about having like a what would be considered a privilege, you know. Uh, it's like, oh, I understand, like that kind of criticism, me self-criticizing myself. I realize I'm only going to self-criticize if there's a constructive outcome. Like if I'm trying to deconstruct myself or try to make myself feel, more humble, or I'll say things like, "Oh, you know, you have a privilege or a special ability or a blessing or you've been given something." and it's made your life more difficult for you. But you still have that. So it's like, why are you complaining? That kind of criticism. And I'd answer that saying, I'm not complaining. I'm trying not to make it sound like that. I'm trying to better construct my life and my ideas to be more successful, to be more happy and control my feelings. That alone, I feel like, is a good enough explanation. But to take it a step further, since I'm already talking about unhealthy thoughts, well, this is what I would classify as unhealthy. But it's for a good reason. I'd say, besides making me feel better, I realize that my feelings and how I am affects the room, so to speak. And the room may just be a room, literally, being a room, people, you know. But I'm aware that I'm spiritually connected, and so I'm trying to do my best. And part of that has been trying to figure out what that means. What does that mean? What if you had some kind of supernatural gift, and then you're trying to figure out things about that? Put yourself in my shoes, so to speak. Try and do your best with it. And then try to figure out what does that mean for you personally, as I've tried to figure it out. And since I'm gonna go ahead and keep talking, wasn't planning on making this video this long. I'm like, what does it mean trying your best when there's other people involved? And it's your family or your friends. And what does it mean when there's other spiritual things involved? God, divinity. I say the women in my life, spiritual women in my life, I call them goddesses. I used to not feel okay about saying that, but it doesn't bother me now. Maybe a little bit. What about them? What about, trying your best for others? I mean, you'd have to create a model, a system, and then a bunch of ideas and try to build upon those ideas and that system, the way you are, and find the right balance and things that you can work on. And, try to understand your supernatural gifts that you had, and how they evolve, how they're incorporated in the world. You'd have to keep building upon these ideas, these structures, and have faith. And all the while working on yourself so that you can be healthy. It's interesting to me, the fact that, I have different ways of thinking of people and of myself. But I see myself, I see myself as the doer, the person who does like I could see the spiritualness and be separated from my person. I could just be connected and be a person who a creature who does things, right? Like I could take away the the me part side of it, if that makes sense. But then I do that. I mean, I do that, and I'm used to that talk, and I can vocalize that feeling or that way of doing spiritual practice. But I don't talk about the how, in order to do something like spirituality, spiritualness, and supernatural stuff, what my body has to be like, and that's why I maintain my body the way I do. Uh, anyway, I just want to say that because I don't really think about that. So I'm definitely in the mentality of just kind of like go, 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 like continue moving forward. And I think I read in a book today, taking time to pause and reflect on certain things that you do without thinking. So, okay, I'm going to get going. I appreciate y'all for letting me talk. I know therapy, talking about certain stuff, it's good for me, and I hope that it can help others, and other people can talk about their feelings and maybe be inspired, like reading a book, for 5 hours, like I talked about earlier. I read this book 5 hours. I'm thinking like the author. All right, y'all. I hope y'all have a good day or a good night, and I will catch you later. All right, bye.